Hey guys, and today I just wanted to come to you with my thoughts and impressions of the Apple iPad. As some of you may know, I've had this device now for quite a considerable amount of time, and I took it to the US with me on my 2-week trip as my sole computing device. So in this review, I'm going to give you the benefit of my experience. I'm going to talk about whether it's a worthy investment for you to make, what it's good for, what it's not so good for, and we're just going to go over some things. Before we start, I want to say that I'm going to try and not go into super detail because that's already been done, as the device has been out for a considerable amount of time. What I'm going to try and do is give you things that are unique to me and that I haven't really seen noted in other videos. So let's start off with web browsing. Now, when Steve Jobs first announced the device, he said that really the biggest goal of it was web browsing and having as he said, a much more intimate web experience than even a laptop can offer, and it certainly does that. Having web page so close to you that you can just tap really does lend itself to an immersive experience. Now let's talk about where I've had some issues. If you go to a website that has very heavy JavaScript implementation, although the iPad is supposed to have full implementation of JavaScript, we'll get onto Flash in a minute. Although it's supposed to have full implementation of JavaScript, it can be a little bit jumpy sometimes. You guys know that I code with a lot of jQuery, and jQuery, although it's standards compliant, it doesn't always work so well with the iPad. So that's something to note. As I kind of hinted to a few minutes ago, the iPad does not have Flash, and some people may say that is a huge hindrance because a lot of whole websites rely on Flash, and they just are not going to be accessible through the iPad. Apple have come out and kind of said that they do not support Flash. They think it's an old platform that is, quote, on its descendancy. Their replacement for this has really been HTML5, and you guys know in my spare time I do a lot of web development, so I really know about HTML5, and as I've said in a previous video, I don't think HTML5 will ever replace Flash, but for little things like embedded video, especially embedded YouTube, it works like a dream, and I haven't really had that much issue with the absence of Flash, save for a few websites. Another thing that I wanted to talk about, and this is where we get into those specific experience. When I was on holiday, you guys know that a lot of hotels use proxies to log into their internet. And I went to one connection where, although it popped up in a second window, a login for the web-based proxy, when I logged in, it froze the iPad. So I think there's a little wonky implementation somewhere when it comes to proxies. But other than that, web browsing has really been a solid experience. Next, what I wanted to talk about is video, because video is something that I've really enjoyed on the iPad, and I used a lot for when I was away. This is where I think the iPad really begins to separate itself from everything else, especially when you consider its 10-hour battery, which is also amazing, but again I'll talk about that in a minute. I used like I say, a lot of video when I was away, and this screen, although it's a 4:3 aspect ratio and not 16:9, it is absolutely gorgeous for watching videos. The iPad also comes with a built-in speaker, which is a satisfactory volume, and a headphone jack. It is absolutely gorgeous for watching video. You can watch it anywhere around you want. It does get a bit heavy to hold because it's a 1.5 pound device, but in terms of just watching video, it is absolutely gorgeous. And you can, like I say, with the battery, you can watch several films and really not worry about the battery life draining if you turn the brightness down a bit and turn off Wi-Fi. So video gets a massive thumbs up for me. That really is. I mean, iBooks is good, but I think video really is where the iPad separates itself, because a laptop, yeah, you're gonna get a great video experience, but you're just not gonna get that battery life, and it's gonna be heavier to carry around everywhere. A netbook, you're gonna get mediocre battery life. It's gonna be a bit lighter than a laptop, but you're certainly not gonna get a nice experience. And on a phone, you're gonna get an even worse experience. So the iPad really is the sweet spot when it comes to watching video. I think where we should go next is apps and the Apple App Store. Now, you guys know that there are a lot of apps available for the iPad, some of which I'll try and demo in the future. Now, unlike the 200,000 apps available for the iPhone, you have to pay for a lot of the iPad apps because they offer increased functionality over their iPhone counterparts. But it can get a bit frustrating when you're just trying to look for a brief, free app that you want to use briefly. For example, specific example, I was there was a time where I needed to exchange files between another mobile device and the iPad. As you guys know, the iPad has Bluetooth, but we could not browse that other device without a third-party app, and I couldn't find any other third-party apps that were free that would just do the quick job that I wanted to get done. So that certainly is not I didn't appreciate that. Next, what I want to talk about just briefly is iBooks, because it's something unique to the iPad, or at least it was until iPhone OS 4. I haven't used iBooks that much. I'm not a big reader, so I'm not really going to comment on that. But I've heard people say it is a great experience, and I've read briefly on it, and I can certainly echo that. Although I haven't read for extended periods. What else? I'm just going to give another quick note on battery life. The battery, as I've said many times already in this review, it really is one of the strong points of the device, and I really think this is going to usher in the new wave of battery technology, because it just drains remarkably slowly, especially if you have the device on half brightness with Wi-Fi turned off. So you can really rely on it being alive whenever you need it. Another quick note on charging: the sync cable that comes with the iPad will actually charge the device without the third-party charger. However, if you have a 5 milliamp USB port, which most older computers do, you'll get the not charging message and your iPad will not actually charge. If you have a newer Mac or a newer computer with an 11 milliamp USB port, then it will charge, but it will still be slower than the power outlet. So if you're going to be need your device to charge quicker, definitely use the power outlet. Next, just a friendly word of advice: don't buy this device if you're not gonna buy a case. My iPad is, as you can see there, currently naked, and it is quite worrying. I did buy a case, but as you've seen in the previous review, I'm not a fan of that case, so I'm now looking for premium case. While I was away, I didn't have a case, and I was very concerned about the corners getting bashed up. So if you're going to buy this device, factor in money for a case, and if you can't factor in the money for a case at the time you need to buy the device, then wait until you can afford to do so, because it really is a must. A note on storage: the 16GB Wi-Fi only model that I have runs for £430 in the UK or $499 in the US. Now, I am a heavy media user, and I put a lot of media on here to use for the holiday. I had a lot of video footage, and it filled up very, very quickly. So I don't regret buying the 16 gig, but if you're a heavy media user, I would definitely go for the 32 gig. Again, just a word of advice: you're still going to get the same great experience if you get the 16 gig, but just to give yourself room for future expansion, I would definitely go for the 32 gig. So that was my rather prolonged review of the Apple iPad. What's the result of all this talking? I would definitely give the iPad a solid 5 out of 5 stars. I've really enjoyed using it and think it's a great device. I don't relent on what I previously said though, because I don't think the iPad really carves out a niche market, other than maybe with the video that I was talking about. That there's not a lot unique about it. But what I do know is this is gonna drive the tablet industry forward, and then a lot of other manufacturers are gonna be trying to step up to the plate. We've already had the Android, Google, Verizon tablet, and I think competition gonna start getting only more fierce. And then, as with phones, a lot of devices will overtake the Apple products, but they might not necessarily have the same fit and finishes as this does. So that was my review of the iPad. What do you think of the device? Have you considered getting one? Have you got one? And if so, what do you think about that? you can feel free to post your thoughts down in the comments or post a video response. That'd be cool. Please subscribe if you like this as well. I'd much appreciate that. And thanks for watching this video, guys.